This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Got two guests with us. We've got Mr. Drew Tanner with us, along with his attorney, Mr. Whit Hyman. I appreciate you guys coming on the program. Thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thanks for being here.
All right, so I want to start with you, Drew. I've covered this story before, but you're from Searcy, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
All right, so you're from Searcy. A couple of years ago, you're walking into Walmart. You're open carrying legally under Act 746, and you get harassed by an off-duty police officer. That's what I can make of this. Walk us through what happened.
Okay, well, like I said, I was shopping in Walmart. It was probably 11 o'clock at night. It was the Saturday after Black Friday, so it's coming up on, an anniversary of it. But I was open carrying, and a guy wearing blue jeans and a T-shirt comes up to me, asks me if I'm a law enforcement officer. Second I say no, he grabs me by the arm and says, "State Police, identify yourself." And, of course, I, question who he is because he says he's State Police, doesn't have a badge, doesn't have a uniform on. So I asked to see his badge. Does not show me any badge. And I break free and call 911 on him. Talk to 911 for a minute. They tell me to stay in the building because I'm just attempting to leave because I think this crazy guy's just, trying to attack me and following me.
Yeah, as far as you know, also impersonating a police officer if he won't show you his badge.
Right. And as soon as the dispatch tells me to stay in the store, he comes up, lifts up his shirt, and finally shows his badge and his gun. Of course, at that point, I'm thinking the badge is fake and all this identification that he's throwing out on the table is fake, too, because he's just not acting like I would assume a legitimate police officer would act like. But the store manager comes up and says that I'm not allowed to open carry in the store, which contradicts what corporate office had said. But, of course, I comply with the store manager. I said, yeah, you don't want me in the store. I have no problem being in there. At that point, the man who allegedly is the state trooper escorts me out of the store, cusses me out, and we meet the Searcy police who are outside responding to my 911 call. The Searcy police asked me for my identification. I have no problem giving it to them. They let me go without an issue.
Yeah, because they know what the law says, presumably.
Presumably, I asked for all of their identifications, and the two Searcy police officers wrote down their names on a card. The guy who was pretending to be the state trooper he never identified himself to me once. The only thing he said was state police. The Searcy police then said that it was going to be on the police report. So a few days later, I got the police report. I filed a complaint against the trooper once I found out his name. The following Monday, I think it was. And after that complaint, I also contacted Walmart corporate office to clarify what their position was as far as carrying in the store.
Mm-hmm.
I did confirm that open carry was allowed in the store, provided that it was legal in the state,
mm-hmm.
which it was. And I asked them if they could contact their store manager in Searcy to let them know this policy. And they responded with, just the next time you're carrying in the store and something happens like this, just show the manager this email. Well, I didn't want to be confrontational about it, so I went back into the store not carrying a weapon at all, not even concealed. and asked to talk to the store manager. And at that time, the same state trooper from earlier, Trooper Ziegenhorn, approaches me and says, "Mr. Tanner, are you carrying today?" I tell him I don't have to answer any questions. He asked me 3 or 4 times.
So let me stop you here, Drew. So how many days after? I mean, was this guy following you?
This happened the following Wednesday, I believe it was. It was a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It was December the 3rd. It was several days later, and he arrives at the store. It was 30 seconds from when I do. We still don't have an explanation on that one.
Yeah.
As far as
y'all have video of all this too. You've got Walmart security cams of all of this stuff.
Yeah,
yes,
and if I may interject, the guy's based out of Forest City. So what is he doing in Searcy? It's not even the right.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Paul. You found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. One of the ways to help us build that liberty machine is to give us a phone call or send us a text message or sound off on Facebook Live. But the phone number, 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. We've got a great show lined up for you. This is what happened last night. Jan Morgan, potential Republican candidate for governor, spoke at the Craighead County Republican Committee meeting. I was there. There was a lot of people there. Apparently a record crowd gathered at the Western Sizzlin', and there was applause. There was laughter. Let me just say this from somebody who was there. It was kind of in the back of the room watching the whole thing, watching the reaction of the crowd as Jan Morgan went over big government numbers and how the Republican establishment has not even, has failed to shrink government, but also has presided over its growing. There were people that were Jan Morgan supporters in the room, and there were people that had never heard her speak or met her before. And I think most of the people who had never heard her or met her before were won over by her last night. That was my strong impression when she was dropping the facts about how the state agency's budget has exploded, when she was talking about how Asa Hutchinson refused to sign the anti-Sharia law bill. There were gasps in the room from the committee. And this is why the Republican Party establishment is afraid of freedom of speech. This is why they have attempted to silence her time and time again, because of what I just saw last night. If that continues, you will have the people who are a part of these Republican party, the local level, the door knockers, the people that pound the pavement. They'll be pounding the pavement for Jan Morgan. They won't be pounding the pavement for Asa Hutchinson because of his liberal leadership, his progressive leadership. And that's what was evident to me last night as I watched Jan Morgan. Now, the Jonesboro Sun, which is the Northeast Arkansas newspaper here, they put Jan Morgan here on the front page. The headline is Morgan, strong voice of GOP. Okay, that's not quite the headline on the internet of the Jonesboro Sun website. But that's the one right there, Joe. You've got the right one. The headlines are different, but the one that actually went out, the one that was the printed version, is Morgan's Strong Voice for GOP. And it's by a guy by the name of Neil Embry. And this is how he begins the piece. Quote, when President Donald Trump won the 2016 election, Republican candidate for governor Jan Morgan said she was so happy she could have streaked across an open field with nothing but Old Glory covering her. That's what they took from the speech. Now, I was there. We have audio of it. This is how, to me, this was in many ways kind of a hit job on this, because you say what she said, but you didn't. That was a secondary component of the point she was trying to make, right? Joe, I've got the audio queued up here. If you'll go to that 6-minute mark, this is actually what it sounded like, and the lightheartedness of that remark. Take a listen.
And the next day in America, it was like this burden had been lifted from my shoulders. I felt like running naked across the meadow with the American flag around me. I was so happy. I was like, okay, everything's going to be all right. America's going to be great again, starting today. And then suddenly it became apparent that we just won a battle. We hadn't won the war.
Stop.
And so that's what.
All right, you see the difference in the context there? She's using this as a way to say, we didn't win the battle, we won the war. I thought it was going to be one way, but it wasn't. Instead, you just put that quote in there, but you don't actually. To me, that's just poor journalism in a way, because put it in there, but leave, but tell the people, report on what she was trying to convey. You use a secondary component to miss the complete point of what she was trying to say and communicate, and one of the key points of her speech. And I just think, when I saw this on the front page, I had several people call me, and they said, what, why would, it was obvious that this was kind of a way of, sensationalizing the news in this way. Now, she goes on. Let's go to I got to pull up the next page here. Because it does talk, if you go to the second page of the story in the print version, it does talk about how some of the meat of the speech. She said in the coming days that she realized not everybody in the state of Arkansas, including Governor Hutchinson, shared her love for Trump and his revolution, as she called it. It became apparent that we had just won a battle. We hadn't won the war. You see, but that quote should have been paired with the overall context of what was being said. What else do we have here? This is carefully crafted language, in my opinion, but from the media standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Carefully crafted language from the media standpoint. But let me get you to get to the second cut, Joe. This length of audio, as we recap this, Jan Morgan at the Craighead County Republican Committee meeting last night, this section of audio was, I think, the meat of the speech, where I saw one guy, when he heard how much government has grown under Asa Hutchinson, he looked across his table and he said, I think I'm going to throw up. And it was because the data of how much money we are spending compared to when Republicans took over is sickening to a true conservative. Listen to this.
Conservatives, we're supposed to be about free market enterprise and capitalism. We're supposed to be about limited government. We're the people of limited government. Do you know, up until a week ago, I've been saying this. All right, establishment, I know you're mad at me because I'm in the middle of this now, but here's a place we can all meet in the middle. Let's just all go back to the Republican Party platform, and let's agree that no matter what, we're going to stand on that platform, and we're going to stand up for conservative values. We're going to stand up for limited government. We're going to stand up for transparency in government because we're the good guys. We're going to stand up for the Second Amendment. We're going to stand up for freedom, for shrinking the size of government, because, folks, when you grow government, you shrink liberty.
Here, here.
Amen. That was great.
Here, here.
Let me tell you what's happened in the last 4 years.
Stop for a second. You think Asa Hutchinson would ever say that? When you grow government, you shrink liberty? Keep going.
Let's just take one little area. When Mike Beebe left office, we were spending. See, we don't have a revenue problem in Arkansas, folks. We have a spending problem, which is inexcusable when we have a Republican-controlled Senate, a Republican-controlled House, and a Republican governor.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet, instead of shrinking government, we're growing it. Folks, the solution to our problems is not the government. The government is the problem. Who said that?
Reagan said that. I remember that.
When we took over in 2015, we had 94 state agencies. 94 state agencies. That's what we've got now. When we took over, when Republicans took over, we were spending on state agencies $16.4 billion. Within 1 year of Republican control, it went up to $17.2 billion. And then in the next year, with Republicans in control, it went up to $19 billion. And now we are at $20.6 billion in spending on state agencies.
Pause.
That is not.
Pause. Okay, this is when somebody in the room, I was in the room, and that's when I saw somebody be like, I'm going to be sick, because they realize it's not conservative. Now, in this Jonesboro Sun article, State Senator John Cooper took issue with some of Morgan's claims. Now, John Cooper, affectionately referred to on this program as the Benedict Arnold of the Arkansas legislature. He took exception with some of the claims about the need for tax cuts and called her speech emotional. Did that sound emotional to you when she was going on the statistics? I think not. I don't think John Cooper was paying attention. She went on to say, he went on to, is quoted in the paper saying, Senator Cooper, when the state does better economically, tax revenue goes up. That's not necessarily a result of legislation that does that. Well, Senator Cooper, what about all the tax increase legislation that we just voted on and passed some of it? I don't feel like that's an emotional. He goes on, I think eventually she'll run into trouble when she has to deal with real facts. Well, she just gave real facts. Here's another real fact. Keep going, Joe. Listen to this audio.
Shrinking government. That's right. We have 49 professional regulatory boards and commissions in this state.
That's not emotional.
We even have one for catfish promotion. I'm sure we have one regulating lemonade stands too, but I just haven't found that one yet. Surely it's noticeable. Got to stop that, folks. And when the National Center for Security Policy recommended to states across America that there is a security issue here and a constitutional issue, and that states need to step up and clarify that we rule by constitutional law, that states in America stand with and govern under constitutional law, and that states should clarify that, because, folks, there were over 50 cases in 13 states in this country where our judges allowed Sharia law to trump constitutional law in cases involving Muslims, much to the detriment of women and children in those cases. And so our legislature did the right thing. They all came together and they supported constitutional law and passed a law prohibiting Sharia law in this state. That's right. To this day, our Republican governor has refused to sign it.
Stop. You know, the person, somebody started dropping off food at my table, so you kind of couldn't hear it. But did you hear the crowd there? And to this day, Asa Hutchinson hasn't signed that bill. Okay? It became law without his signature. He refused to sign that bill. Did you hear the people across the committee? You could hear gasps and groans because they haven't been told this information before. This is big stuff. It was A really good speech by Jan Morgan. Again, it was a record crowd there. They had to open a partition. There were 2 standing ovations, one when she took the podium, another when she finished. It was about a 15-minute speech or 10-minute speech around there, and it was fantastic. I'm telling you, she won a ton of people over last night in Northeast Arkansas, and you had some establishment people like Senator John Cooper that didn't like it and called the speech emotional when, in fact, it was very factual, and it actually rebuked a whole lot of Asa Hutchinson's progressive leadership. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with former State Representative Donnie Copeland. Don't go anywhere.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, every single hour there is a politician not getting what they want. For some, it's an absolute nightmare. The sleepless nights wondering if progress will ever come. Lying awake pondering how to grow government in this political climate. Asking questions like, why don't my constituents want to pay a few cents more in taxes? Everyday politicians feel abused and neglected. These politicians are starving for power. They're hungry, confused, and they don't understand why no one seems to care. Will you be a patriot and commit today to help these poor, starved for power public officials? It's simple. All you have to do is commit to stay silent and never dissent or stand in the way of your politicians' rise to power. Never speak up or get engaged to stop the growth of government. By committing to these simple steps, you will ensure the life of your politician will be filled with contentment and the respect they are desperately seeking, as well as campaign contributions from lobbyists.
This message brought to you by Aristocrats Serving Arkansas.
PHP Parody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program today. Also, I want to welcome back, we've got former State Representative Donnie Copeland is with us. Donnie, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Paul, how we doing, man?
I'm doing very well, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in the news today. We got Jan Morgan speaking at Republican county committees, making the establishment crazy, so that's always fun to watch them react to that. And I want to remind everybody, former State Representative Donnie Copeland is not a state representative anymore, so don't call him about your problems. But he is he is the purveyor of the CopelandReport.com. That's Copeland, Koplan report.com, a news aggregator about Arkansas stories that you can find. It's very useful. Donnie, did you see that story about the $60,000 that was spent on attorneys for the Bureau of Legislative Research to comply with FBI investigations on legislators?
Yeah, and you know, you and I talk about this quite a bit, but again, it's almost like whatever happens in Washington happens in Little Rock. I think it's just where people are in power and they feel empowered and they don't feel accountable to the people. but we're spending $60,000, on what? And I think the same question could be asked in D.C. We spent $14 million, but we can't find out what the $14 million was spent on in D.C. So it's like a mirrored image.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Are you hearing anything about the John Woods trial starts on December the 4th, and people are starting to get antsy about are there going to be coming indictments? And again, that $60,000 on attorneys. I mean, that was about complying with the FBI trying to get information. So I mean, are you hearing anything?
Yeah, I actually have been on the phone quite a bit today, trying to kind of keep my ear to the ground and talking to former legislators. And I guess I talked to at least 3 today on myriad of subjects, but that was one of them. And what I'm hearing is they're hearing some names. We're both hearing kind of the same names and most of those have been in the media, so there's nothing I don't think really new, and I wouldn't want to say any names, and it not be true. But one of the things that I did hear today, that they were waiting for this trial to start, and I don't know because I'm not that versed on legal matters, but they were waiting for the trial to start to unseal those indictments.
Okay.
So
well,
that's the first explanation that I've heard about, when they may be unsealed. So
yeah. Now, okay, and I'm glad you said this because last Monday, I was looking on Pacer Conduit Media, doing all this research, and because I had seen on the internet where they were saying all these indictments were filed, and I wanted to confirm it, and so it was confirmed. I mean, I tweeted it out, a screenshot of, at the time, 18 indictments in western Arkansas, 7 in eastern Arkansas, and it was pretty much silent. I did get a follow from one individual who I think some people mention and potentially being indicted. That was interesting. But last night, the Arkansas Times picked that screenshot up with no attribution and put it on their Facebook page, and then did their own research and confirmed that the indictments have been filed as well. But I think it's maybe down to 15 in Western District and not 18. But still, people are now starting to notice there were these indictments that are filed. They are sealed. We don't know who they're about.
Right, exactly. And I actually read that piece last night and was not aware that was your screenshot. So
the one on Facebook was, and that's fine. That's why I put it out there. I don't care that they didn't attribute it. It's fine. I mean, it is what it is.
You're just serving the people, aren't you?
Well, honestly, I put that out there a week ago because I wanted another media group. I wanted the Arkansas Times, or I wanted the Gazette to go and verify it themselves, because it's a website called Pacer, and you can do it. And that's exactly what happened. It took a little longer than I thought, but hey, I think everybody was excited people were more excited to eat turkey. We got about 2 minutes left, Donnie Copeland. Statewide races, Secretary of State race, things like that. Are you following that? Speaker of the House
I've been
ramifications.
keeping up with a little bit. And I'm pretty close to both of those candidates in the Secretary of State race. I know the younger man in the land commissioner race, Alex. I knew him from my boys went to high school with him. I don't know Tommy Land that well, but Secretary of State's race is going to be interesting. John's done a great job as Commissioner of Lands. I sat on Judiciary with Trevor Drown, who's now President State Representative. So that one will be interesting. I think what you can take out of that more than anything is none of those 4 candidates are raising hardly any money.
Yeah.
And so it'd be interesting, kind of tied back into Jan Morgan, the kind of money that she can raise, because she's got the issues with the RFRA, with the Sharia law, with the several gun laws the governor has refused to sign. She's got the issues. There's a great case to be made, but you got to get it to the people.
You're exactly right. Hey, we got less than 30 seconds, Donnie. Speaker of the House race, who do you like in that?
Boy, that's going to be a close one. I like Andy and I like Matt. I'm hearing today that probably Matt's got the inside track. but I keep my eye on Andy, and Andy's, I think, a little more independent
Yeah.
than Matt from the governor. So I like them both, but Andy's probably my pick.
Donnie Copeland, I appreciate it, sir. Be safe. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care, Paul.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Troop that's supposed to patrol that area.
Yeah, that is strange. That is strange. We're also talking with attorney Whit Hyman here. So Whit, yeah, when did y'all find that out? When did you find out that he's not even based out of Searcy?
I found that out as soon as I found out his name, which was that Monday.
Okay. So you researched. So then he arrests you, right there. You're not even carrying at that point, right?
Well, he doesn't arrest me. He doesn't put me under arrest, but he does put me in handcuffs and detain me for what feels like a long time. It was after he asked me for if I was carrying or not, and I wouldn't answer his questions. I finally did answer his question and tell him no, that I was not carrying. And then he demands to see my identification. Well, he already knows who I am, so there's no purpose to see my identification other than just harass me. And I told him that. I said, you don't need to see my identification. I haven't committed any crime. I'm just standing here in line waiting to talk to a manager. You're harassing me. I'm calling 911 again. And as soon as I said I was calling 911 again, he grabs me, puts me in handcuffs, and takes me outside.
And he was in uniform at this point, right? He wasn't in uniform in the first confrontation. This time he comes back to settle a score in uniform. I mean, that's my characterization of it.
Well, what's crazy is when he came up to Drew that second time, I believe his exact words were, "Mr. Tanner, are you carrying today?" So he's asking for him to ID himself when he already knows his identification. And we know now, based on court documents, that he'd already filed a warrant for Drew's arrest before this thing even happened, or it was the same day. I'm assuming it was before this little interaction happened. But, he knows who he is. Yeah. And I think this was the same day he'd filed to have Drew's concealed carry license revocation, but I'd have to double-check that. Drew concealed carry license revoked because he was open carrying. I mean, it's just clearly he knows who he is. They know each other. They had an interaction the other day. So in Arkansas law, you have to ID yourself, but you don't have to give your state-issued identification if you're not driving, under these circumstances anyway.
It's very strange, a very strange story. And, I know it's I've seen the video of all of this, and it's very, like I said, it just kind of feels like he came back to settle a score. We're talking with Drew Tanner of Searcy, who was put in handcuffs and, from what appears to be, harassed by a state trooper that maybe just disagrees with what Act 746 entails. Also joined by his attorney, Whit Hyman. And I want to remind everybody, this particular segment is brought to you by the great Patriots of Act 746. They're on a mission. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us. Telephone number 870-275-9799. We appreciate everybody listening across the state on our terrestrial affiliates, as well as those who are listening on the internet over at paulharrell.com, our YouTube page, or Facebook Live at facebook.com/Paul Talk Show. This part of the program, this is time for our weekly segment, brought to you by the great patriots of Act 746. They're on a mission to make sure that the folks of Arkansas are educated on their Second Amendment rights, but specifically gun law and rights in Arkansas, about constitutional carry and about Act 746. Joining us now to talk more about this, we have member of Patriots of Act 746, Mr. Rick Bernard is with us. Rick, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, you've been a listener of the program because I see on our Facebook Live feed a whole lot. So it's actually great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I picked up the Facebook Live one day from Kenny Wallace, and there was a lot of days where it was just me and Kenny listening. But
not anymore, right? Am I right?
No, not anymore. It's been over a year ago because it was a while ago that it showed up in my feed one day that I'd shared it. So I've enjoyed the lesson from Kenny. I like him a lot, and
yeah,
I've sure been enjoying your show.
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciate you listening. So tell me about Patriots of Act 746. How did you get involved? Because you're an admin on the page. Okay, so I mean you're pretty far up on the totem pole.
Yeah, I've been an admin for quite a while. I've been with it almost since the inception because I remember I had a class for CHL coming up in August, and me and Gary were chatting one day in July, and this is back before the law took effect, and he's like, "Bonehead, you don't have to have it." And I said, "I know, Gary." I said, "But because of reciprocity, or excuse me, whatever that
reciprocity, yeah."
Yes, reciprocity. I said, we traveled to Florida to see my wife's grandma and stepfather and aunt, and to Mexico to see her father. And I said, I'm tired of being a thug with my 9mm and my conceal holster, and I'm going to do it, So I've been there for a long time. There was just a couple hundred of us there, but we've grown a long ways from back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are over 11,000 people in that page. You guys have had marches, right? I mean, y'all have carried and, to make sure people know that what their rights are and everything else. And, I mean, it's incredible how Act 746 was passed, back in 2013. It was a secret success. Governor Mike Beebe signed it and didn't even know what he was signing, which should certainly let you know about the whole process, how easy it is for this is a rare case where a bill gives the people more freedom and people didn't understand what they were voting or signing. And a lot of times that can happen and people have less freedom. So we certainly lucked out on that one.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's a shame for a lawyer and a former attorney general to go ahead and not know what he's signing, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, we had that first year. We had, we constantly marches all over the state. First one was in Fort Smith, and we had many others up in the northwest corner of the state, down Conway and Little Rock, and up in Mountain Home and Harrison. And it took time to start to get people on board, but it's been a great grassroots movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really has, and the next step would be to get somebody like Governor Asa Hutchinson to actually acknowledge that constitutional carry is a thing. I mean, he won't do that, and according to Jan Morgan and others, that meeting, he doesn't want to do that because that would hurt the Arkansas State Police's budget. With the fees that go to a concealed carry handgun license. So it would be nice, right? I mean, it'd be nice if elected officials would just acknowledge what the law actually says, the reality.
But that would be very nice. But the state police, along with their revenue stream, has long been fighting against it. We did an FOI back in 2015, I believe, June of 2015, and got 189 pages out of Mr. Sadler. And we've got emails from Mr. Downs, who is their attorney, telling the troopers how to negate Act 746 and consider if they've got one in the chamber, then that is unlawful intent. and to confiscate their license and things like that. And when we challenged them on that and brought it out, and then they changed their tune because that had gone out to all of the troopers. I had talked to my local trooper here, along with many mayors, sheriffs, and chiefs, and all of that. But after we got that, I went and talked to him. And he said, "Yep, I got it." I said, "How's your position?" He said, "Same as it always was." I said, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
But they've been trying to run it amok since the start. They don't like it.
So you're organizing an event. Let's speaking of Jan Morgan, on December the 5th, right, Marion County Fairgrounds.
Yes, sir.
There's going to be an event. Jan Morgan's going to be there for the folks in Marion County to come out and meet her, hear her speak, right?
Yes, sir. 5 p.m. next Tuesday. We're going to have Jan. I got to meet her personally a couple of years. In fact, the day that, our Attorney General put the opinion out on Act 746, I took my wife down with a class for her. But Jan's going to come on up, and you've been beating the drum pretty good about the Republican Party working against her, and they initially reached out to me to do members on their local committee that didn't want to.
Hang on, Rick. You broke up, I think, in the key part of your sentence there. You say, okay, I've been hammering the Republicans for being afraid of just ideas, and specifically Jan Morgan's speaking. And so you're saying
right.
We lost you right when you said that initially the Republican Party reached out to you to do what?
Well, the party didn't want, the local committee didn't want to publicly invite Jan, but they reached out to me. I'm basically a conservative Christian libertarian, and have run on the libertarian ticket, but I've held events for different candidates in the county before, and Bruce Emerson and some people from the committee had reached out and said, "Would you do this? We think you'd cross better lines." And we got a couple of fuddy-duddies, and we'll get a meeting with the committee, and we'll be there. And the county judge was all in, and that. Now this last 2 weeks here, the committee doesn't want to talk. They won't make an appointment for Jan to meet them. The county judge, when I run him down, is wavering instead of something like he said when I talked to him 3 weeks ago. "Yep, it's on my calendar. I'm all in. I'll be there." I'll try to see if I can be there, and I can't prove it, but it just seems to me like more outside forces coming in.
Absolutely.
Their voodoo.
It sounds to me like, just based on what you just said, Rick, that they reached out to you because they wanted to hear her. They wanted to hear Jan, but they didn't want to do it in an official capacity, probably because they wanted to avoid getting called out, by the people, the governor and everybody else, but they still wanted to hear her. And it seems like that they are, they're just making sure everybody toes the line. I mean, the word has gone out. I know coming up this weekend, the state party has a meeting down in Little Rock. So I know that's going on, and I understand that there's going to be an attempt to get county committee officials, who are there to just, start towing that line. And I know Asa is probably going to personally talk to them and say, "Hey, look, I'm the head of the party here, and I'm the governor, and you guys are not going to try to, abandon me in support of Jan Morgan." And there's a lot of intimidation going on right now. In spite of that, though, I think you and me both, Rick, I'd go on record and predict that this Marion County event on December 5th is going to be huge.
I sure hope it is, Paul. I'm going to spend the next 2 days down around the square and the courthouse. I've got a great big stack of flyers printed up, and I'm going door knocking the best I can. And we're sure going to try to put on a great event for Jan, because not only are we Facebook friends, she's also a personal friend of mine. She's a great instructor and a great person, and I hope we can put on a real good event for her.
Yeah, and those of you who are watching on Facebook from that area, it's going to be at the fairgrounds. What time on December the 5th?
5 p.m. at the county fairgrounds. It's actually in Summit, but for all the local folks, they know where it is.
Yeah.
It's real easy to go ahead and find. So they can just
Well, and it
Look
could
me up. I've got flyer up. My name's on it. My phone number's on it. No problem.
Well, it could be a good regional event too. Our listeners listen on KJMT Mountain Talk 97.1. You guys feel free. If you don't have to be in Marion County to come to this thing, all right? I mean, you could be in Baxter, Stone, and make the trip up and see, get to meet a potential candidate for governor. One of the things Jan Morgan did say last night at the Craighead County Republican, as she was received amazingly by most of the people there, she won a ton of people over at Craighead County. She said that they're making an announcement on January 1st. I mean, she said that to the crowd there. And so I think that's big. I think a lot of folks are going to breathe a sigh of relief on a new year and a potential new direction for the state, and actually having true conservative values represented instead of somebody that acts like they're conservative and comes up with excuses as to why we can't sign a bill prohibiting Sharia law in the state of Arkansas. Rick, we're about out of time. I'll give you the last word, sir.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for having me, and I hope everybody from surrounding counties, like you said, I've got friends from Newton, as far away as Newton County, that say they're coming over. Some the other side of Green Forest or Green Forest area. Got some people from Boone County. I know some people from Baxter County that are coming. So come on out next week at 5 p.m. Join us at the community building at the fairgrounds, and let's put on a great event. Jan would love to talk to you.
All righty. Rick Bernard of Patriots of Act 746. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for your commitment to the Second Amendment, and I'd love to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Hey, folks, that telephone number, call us or text us, is 870-275-9799. Or continue to sound off on our Facebook Live video. We certainly appreciate everybody out there listening. My name is Paul. We're building a liberty machine here. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
This is Mother Government. My people. The promised revenue gathering to fund my motherly goals, such as the Arkansas Works, Obamacare, private option has commenced. I have asked my representatives and senators to execute my will concerning new revenues, from the tires you use to drive on my roads, the candy and sodas you consume and purchase in my stores, and the digital products you download on my internet. Your sacrifices and tributes, which are owed, display a measure of obedience, but there are still collectible sacrifices I require from the people to increase the work and size of our great government of Arkansas. There are two matters left unresolved. 1. I require a general tribute for all purchases made on my internet. Not just digital products, but all products. My dear children, there are those who would thwart my motherly goals of progress. If you see them, please combat their misguided notions of freedom by using phrases like mom and pop, and tax cheat. 2. I still require more revenue sacrifices concerning your consumption of my gasoline. I require your undying loyalty on the subject. Subjects, in conclusion. More revenue is good. Static revenue is bad. This message was brought to you by your stewards, aristocrats serving Arkansas. Thank you, my children, in advance for your required and expected obedience that keeps society safe and prosperous. And always remember, from cradle to grave.
PHP Parody. If you would like information about advertising or supporting the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media Group, call 870-275-9755. Join the fight against big government and advance the preservation of liberty by calling 870-275-9755. The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. I'm a big Nat King Cole fan. If you can't tell, those of you listening, we've had to cut our Christmas music off on the Facebook Live feed because Facebook flags it and takes the video down. So I apologize. You guys aren't getting the full, the full show. And yeah, the full Christmas experience. But I mean, I'm still getting to listen to it. So I see Jan Morgan is listening on Facebook, and she just wrote and said that 5 counties. Last night at the Craighead County Republican meeting, there were people from 5 counties there to hear her speak. That's a big deal. And it's stuff like that. That's why the Craighead County Republican Committee meeting last night had record attendance. Record attendance. And I will tell you, I can tell by the body language, and I'm not going to name any names, but I can tell by the body language of some of the people who were there that they were kind of hesitant because they've been scolded by the Republican establishment, or they had heard things. And you could kind of tell maybe, okay, but by the end of it, I was watching some of these people that I could tell maybe were not comfortable with, trying to go against Asa or worried about being perceived as just, having somebody come speak to you and all of a sudden you're condemned. But there are people worried about that. By the end of Jan Morgan's speech, these people were extremely happy and very, very, you could tell that they had bought in. You could tell that they were convinced that Jan Morgan is not who these Republican establishment people say she is. You could tell it. I'm sitting there, I watched the whole thing, and I was a people watcher last night. It was fantastic. Let's go to the phones. We have Tony, right? And Tony is calling in Benton County. Tony, welcome to the Paul Harrell program, sir. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a whole lot of traction out of this, but I'd like to actually bring up something that a lot of people don't know. Constables are missing off of your county ballots because county judges. I know this has happened up here in Benton County. I know it happened real recently in Washington County, that the Washington County judge had ordered an illegal ballot which excluded 12 constable positions off of the Washington County ballot.
Wow.
And she said that she claims that she has this authority. And
who was this?
This was the county judge, former county judge of Maryland. I can't think of her last name.
Former county judge in Washington County, because now the county judge in Washington County, right, is Joseph Wood, correct?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, he's not interested in handling it either.
Huh.
And see, what happened was during the Tea Party movement, several county positions were taken over by Tea Party people. And these were people who had become members of the Republican Party establishment, not the establishment. They were the outliers of the Republican Party. This was the Tea Party trying to take over the Republican Party establishment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what goes on is if the constable goes to the district, he goes to the district meetings, okay, because he's a delegate. He's supposed to show up when they have these what do they call district conventions.
Okay.
This could affect the Republican Party convention at the state. Okay. The Republican Party establishment that had gotten voted out went behind the backs to the Democrats and said that she could get rid of 12 of those seats. And that all she needed to do is just order new ballots.
I have never heard of this.
If you look at the Arkansas,
this is unbelievable.
What they're saying is Arkansas statute 14-14-401. Everybody look it up. In any event, no matter what, the county the quorum court has to get permission from the people. They have to actually come to put this on a ballot and ask if they can have a vote in order to reduce a constitutional officer at the county level. What they're saying is no, they can mix 14-14-401 with either Amendment 44 or 55. Now, this is funny. You write, the Arkansas legislature has a right to write a law with the permission in the Arkansas Constitution.
So
it must write it in accordance.
This is
no,
a new
this
thing.
How you mix it.
This is a new thing to me, Tony, and I want to research what you've said, and I'm going to research what you've said because a lot of times, anytime I get a call about constables, the adversarial relationship that most frequently is reported is between constables and sheriffs because
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? And if I was a sheriff, I would utilize constables, especially if I'm in a very rural county because, number one, like you said, constitutional, and it also just makes sense that you would have and trust constables. But this is the first time I've heard, and you're actually describing something different, maybe an adversarial relationship between constables and a county judge, but not directly. This is more of a political ploy to weaken the grassroots voice within a government. Is that generally kind of what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. Well,
that's
I've never
correct.
heard
now,
that before.
I'm going to say this. The sheriff did ask, but I have this on very reliable information that the voted out more liberal establishment of the Washington County Republican Party, they got voted out. They went back up there and went behind the backs to their buddies, the Democrats, and they got this accomplished because they did not want, and I know that the Republican Party of the state of Arkansas does not want a change in the face of the Republican Party.
Of course not.
They're the establishment. Yeah. They'll do anything they can to get out of this.
Well,
now,
Tony,
again,
we got to go to break, but will you stay on the line, Tony? And I want Joe to get your more of your information because I'd like to call you and you were throwing around some laws there and statutes. I'd like to look it up, but I appreciate the call, Tony, very much. Okay. Thank you so much. Now, we're gonna go to break here in a little bit, but I do want to say this because will you get his information, Joe? Yeah. Okay. You're telling me we only have one pen and I'm holding it. Apparently. The one pen. So, what's interesting about what he said there is the establishment trying to control or influence in this party or that party. Do you realize that back during the specifically with Washington County, that indicted Senator John Woods, who is scheduled to start his public corruption trial, December the 4th, back before he was indicted and everybody knew he had done these things, right? Everybody knew an indictment was coming on John Woods. Do you realize the Republican Party establishment locally tried to push his candidacy for county judge because they were so worried about the idea of a conservative being a county judge, like a Joseph Wood, for example? I mean, can you believe that happened? So what this caller is saying here is not out of bounds or unthinkable, because I understand and know that the establishment, to protect themselves, will go to great lengths to do so, and they don't really care when it's about power. You don't really care who you throw in with when it's about power. And that's what we are seeing on a statewide scale with the party trying to say, hey, we're afraid of ideas, we're afraid of speech, and we don't want Jan Morgan to come to our events. And that's why I want to publicly say this. Craighead County Republicans, I thank you so much for having Jan Morgan to speak. I know what happened. I think what happened with her being uninvited was unfortunate, and to say the least. But you guys invited her back. She spoke. She won people over. And that's what the establishment, I believe, was worried about. You did it anyway. You did it anyway. You invited her anyway. and you didn't care what the consequences. You guys stared down Asa Hutchinson and his intimidation tactics, and you won last night. I hope it felt good, and I hope there's more to come, not just from Craighead County, but from all these Republican county committees. Back in a minute.
Rush, Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
To educate the people of Arkansas about constitutional carry, Arkansas Act 746, and your Second Amendment rights. So you can check them out. It's the Patriots of Act 746 on the Facebook page. 11.5, I think 11,000 strong right now. It's a great group. So Drew, can you kind of wrap up what exactly happened to you? You start with a concealed carry license. It gets revoked for a time. How did you do that?
Yes. During the second incident that we were just talking about, he did confiscate my license. I didn't get notification in the mail until several weeks later that it had been officially revoked. We did had an administrative hearing in front of the state police to challenge that, and they would not return it. And we appealed it to circuit court and lost in circuit court. We pulled Judge Wendell Griffin.
Yeah, that's not going to be good. I'm surprised he found time to do it, and he wasn't protesting the death penalty. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. We after the loss in circuit court, I decided not to press it any further, just because it was way too much money to spend to get a $200 license that I don't even need in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's move on to this. We have a Facebook post here. And this is what got me to contact you and ask you guys if you wanted to come on and talk about this. A lawsuit, raising money to file a lawsuit against the Arkansas State Police, specifically also Trooper Ziegenhorn here. And so you write, first of all, just tell me the basis of the lawsuit. Whit Hyman, attorney from Fort Smith, what do you think legally was done to Drew that is wrong?
Okay, so actually Drew has quite a few different what they call reasons to sue or causes of action that we're going to pursue. Obviously I'm going to pursue a Second Amendment violation because I believe he was singled out merely for open carrying a firearm. I'm also going to, say, hey, there was a Fourth Amendment violation to our, to his constitutional rights. And in the United States, you can sue individuals who violate your civil rights. You can say that is its own lawsuit. Now, they have to be acting under the color of law, but you can sue them. So, we're also going to be suing over his First Amendment rights for a variety of things. For example, I believe this is Trooper Ziegenhorn's actions were in part due to Drew's complaints that he lodged against him. And that is a retaliation against Drew's use of this complaint process, using his First Amendment right to complain to the government about the government. It doesn't get any more fundamental than that. On top of that,
Drew has some First Amendment issues when he was complaining about this incident on the official Arkansas State Police Facebook page. They deleted his comments, and then they ended up blocking him from participating. And we believe that is a First Amendment violation, and we're going to sue a variety of people we believe are involved in the administration of the Facebook page for that incident and try to get a permanent injunction against the Arkansas State Police to not block Drew for saying the things he wants to say, and for anyone else who wants to express an opinion. So, we're going after this officer for malicious prosecution and abuse of process and things like that. The meat of it is, the constitutional rights violation under the Arkansas Constitution as well as the federal one. And at the very least, I believe the second confrontation is the most egregious, because even if he believes and is fundamentally wrong about what Act 746 did, that second confrontation he has with the officer, Drew finally tells him he's not carrying. And even if he is carrying, Drew had a concealed carry license at that point. It hadn't been revoked. So what authority did the officer have to handcuff him and search him and go through his stuff?
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Welcome to the program. Be sure to spit out those sunflower seeds, Joe, before we do your segment. That was literally the last minute. Like, oh, I've got a mouthful of sunflower seeds. I've got to get rid of these. It's time for the Conduit for Action game show, which is based on the Conduit for Action weekly quiz, Government 101. That's what I want to say is, I don't know. I just love this theme. For some reason, I've got that scene from Batman in my head right now with Michael Keaton. Show me the money. Hubba, hubba, hubba. Who do you trust? Who do you trust? All right, this one. This is about bonds. James bonds. Bonds are future tax increases. Lately, many states, counties, and cities are trying to avoid the traditional tool to grow government by using bonds. And this is now happening all over the state at all levels. Rather than passing a tax increase, local governments are now touting the idea of selling bonds as the best way to fund projects without raising taxes. What government doesn't tell you is that these bonds are essentially increases by another name. Bonds are simply borrowed money which must be repaid, starting with high and usually tax-free to the lender interest. It is true the government starts paying tax-free interest on the debt bonds immediately, but when the bonds are due, future taxpayers, such as your children and grandchildren, will be on the hook for repaying the bond principals from increased taxes. You can take this quiz to learn the basics behind bonds, and then you'll know more about how this affects you, the taxpayer. Now, Joe, when you hear this sound as you take the quiz, just to review everything, when you hear this sound, it means you're out of time. Okay, and let's see, what else do we have here? If you get a wrong answer, we will boo you. And if you get a correct answer, we will praise you. Sound good? All right. Joe knows that. Just so you know, Joe, I actually did the quiz by myself. It was a review before Thanksgiving. I know you weren't here, and I scored a 100 on the review questions.
You got a couple more 100s to catch up.
Yeah. I have a text message here from Rufus. He's texting in Washington County, and he predicts that you will make a 50% on this quiz.
Well, not as much confidence.
Yeah,
but then again, I probably don't have much confidence in myself on this particular topic.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But it's good. It's about educating. All right. So question number 1.
That's what we should do from now on. If you're listening, just text in or put it on Facebook, whatever, what you think I'm going to get.
Yeah, or we could make it like a pool or something, or we could take bets. I mean, we could do that, right?
I guess.
Oh, or does the government regulate that? Oh, right. Yeah. Running numbers used to be something the mob would do. It was illegal. And then the state said, but we'll just make it legal, but we'll regulate it and we'll make it a lottery and we'll create a poor tax for it. Okay. Question number 1. What is a government bond? Is it A, issuing of public debt that is usually secured by the full faith and credit of the government entity issuing it, i.e. secured by the taxpayer of that government entity, whether state, county, or city, in future tax increases? Is it B, free money that the government gets to use to grow government? C, not a tax increase? Or D, money that China gives to government out of the goodness of their heart? Think it out now.
I really like the answers, especially
I think this one's
B,
obvious.
C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
I like just because they're really funny to me.
Yep.
But the little that I do know about bonds, it's definitely A.
Definitely A. Okay, all right, good. All right, so he's going with A, folks. Question number 2. In Arkansas, who can now issue bonds for economic development projects after Issue 3 of 2016 passed? Okay, who can now issue bonds? Is it the state of Arkansas, A? Is it B, counties? Is it C, cities? Or is it D, all of the above? Relax it out now. Relax it out.
Take my time on this one. Okay, so I definitely know the state can issue bonds.
Yep.
I think it's just the state.
Dun, 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 dun.
You know what? No.
All right, that sound means you're out of time.
We're going all of the above.
All of the above.
I'm pretty sure Issue 3, one of Issue 3's, I'm pretty sure we talked about this. I'm trying to use my very limited memory here. I'm pretty sure counties can give out bonds as well now. I might be wrong about that.
All right.
You know what? I'm going to go back on. I'm going to see. I just need to not question myself. Just go with what I went with the first time, state of Arkansas.
Okay.
Just
all right.
Going with A again.
Going with A. All right. Question number 3. Who is allowed to buy these economic development bonds? A, anyone allowed under law who is willing and able. B, only Arkansas residents. C, only U.S. citizens. Or D, only those authorized and approved by the governing body issuing the bonds.
Don't even have to think about this one. This one's D. Because at this point, they're just like, we've said this before, but in a different context, it's the government picking winners and losers.
Okay.
They're allowed to pick who gets bonds and who doesn't.
Okay, going with D. Going with D. Joe's going with D again. All right, here we go. Question number 4. Is it free for cities, counties, and the state to issue and keep up with these bond programs? A, yes, they are easy to set up and run on autopilot once set up. Or B, no, large law firms and financial firms are paid huge sums of taxpayer money to set up, implement, and administer these bond programs. These people are sometimes referred to as bond daddies.
Okay.
Bond daddies. James Bond daddies.
The fact that the question or the answer has bond daddies, it immediately makes me think that's not an answer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with yes.
You're going with yes.
Okay, so that goes back up to here to 2, which I want to put all of the above.
Oh, you're now changing question 2.
Yes.
I don't know if judges will let you do that.
The judges are.
I guess they will because
this is like a test, and I can go back and change answers.
Yeah, you can go back and change answers.
What I used to do on tests is I would start from the front, get about maybe a page and a half in, and then flip it over to the back. Just because usually a lot of similar questions are right there grouped next to each other, so I flip it over to the back and get a different set of questions on a different set of topics.
Interesting.
That's just what
You're breaking the psychological journey your teacher may be taking you on to try to trick you.
That's fine. If they're trying to trick me, then I'm messing
Well,
with
you
them.
caught it up. I mean, the questions themselves, they did. I mean, I was sitting here noticing, being like, number 4 is going to kind of. All right, so.
It's going to help me out.
Well, yeah, I was like, well, they're giving you the answer to number 2 in question number 4.
So the thing now is I definitely do need to second guess myself and go with my second guess.
Okay,
That's what I learned from.
So question 4
2.
are bonds for? Is it free for cities, counties in the state to issue and keep up with these bond programs? Which one did you go with on that?
I went with yes.
All right. So you think
easy
it's
to set up and run on autopilot once.
Okay. All right. Question number 5.
Because bond daddies doesn't seem like a thing to me.
Oh, it doesn't.
I don't think it's a thing, but then again, I could be wrong.
Well, I've never used the term bond daddies.
I've never used it either, or ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Question number 5.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
What is the limit on these economic development bonds after issue 3 of 2016? This is a good one.
Oh, I know this one.
Is it A, 5% of the general revenue budget of the governing body? B, 50% of the general revenue budget of the governing body? C, 1,000,000% of the general revenue budget of the governing body? Or D, is there no limit to how much they can spend?
There's no limit, because I remember when I first joined the show as the producer / board operator, I remember this was a big thing going on. Like, you were talking about it because it got passed, and we kept bringing it up, the fact that them having no limit essentially puts us at a possible infinite amount of debt.
Yes.
I remember that specifically.
Yep.
So no limit.
All right. Well, that's your memory. That's your memory. Question number 6. Who was the lead sponsor of SJR 16 of 2015 that became issue 3 of 2016 to allow for these economic development bonds, and who was a supporter of SJR 16 of 2015? Is it A, indicted Senator John Woods and the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce? B, indicted Senator John Woods and Governor Asa Hutchinson? C, indicted Senator John Woods and Senator Jim Hendren? Or D, all of the above?
I'm going to go with all of the above, because
all of the above.
Asa wants every opportunity to try to quote-unquote bring jobs to Arkansas using these bonds. So that immediately puts that one there, and then usually his nephew follows in tow with what he wants.
Yes, yeah.
Usually.
No, both of them do.
And the Chamber of Commerce is very much about the money and trying to have flexibility to be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, question number 7. Do the sale of these bonds have to be a public sale, or can they be a private sale? A, must be public, B, must be private, or C, can be either public or private because Amendment 62, Article 3 of the Arkansas Constitution, was repealed as part of Issue 3 of 2016, which required a public sale after a notice to the public.
I'm gonna go with C.
C, okay. Man, if that's true, that is cronyism at its finest.
Absolutely.
You know? Question 8.
It just seems like something that they would do. The Arkansas Republican establishment, a.k.a. the indicted John Woods, it seems like something he would do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Question number 8. Which state was the only state in the 20th century to default on its debt because of its issuance of too many bonds? A, Georgia. B, Arkansas. C, Texas. Or D, Mississippi.
Something tells me it's not Texas.
Oh, really?
Something tells me it's not Texas, because I feel like Texas has enough sense to not do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me wants to put Arkansas. But I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just going to put Arkansas.
Okay, well,
Honestly, I have no idea what the answer is.
All right, that sound means you're out of time, so you just at the nick of time. Question number 9, who is ultimately responsible for paying back the debt or the bond? A, the city, B, the state, C, the county, D, the taxpayer.
I think the powers that be are trying to tell me something with this one. The fact that the taxpayer is in all caps.
Oh, it is. It is. Okay.
I'm going to go with that one.
The
because that's the
taxpayer.
only one that makes sense. Because the city sure as heck ain't paying it back. The state's not, and the county's not.
Yeah,
So
none
it's
of those things are
always-
funded by, those are not.
Well, all of those things are funded by, guess what? The taxpayer.
Yeah, there we go. Question 10, have you subscribed to Conduit Fractions email list to get new surveys? And in what town do you live? And all right, let's check it out, Joe. Where are we on this? Going all the way back up to question number 1.
Higher than 50%.
What'd you get?
88.9.
88.9%. You get a B.
Question.
You get a B.
Almost an A. Almost an A.
Yeah,
But if I had got the
come
other,
on.
if I had gotten the ninth
almost
question
doesn't
right,
count though. You got a B.
I know, horseshoes and hand grenades.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see.
What did I get wrong? Let's find what I got wrong.
All right, what'd you get wrong? Hang on, I got to get the booze
So,
ready.
bond daddies is a thing.
Well, I mean, according to this, yeah, bond daddies.
I had no idea.
Bond daddies. It's like, I don't know. It's like I want to make some sort of weird James Bond reference, and I think it would work because of his, the character's promiscuous behavior. You could say something about illegitimate children and bond daddies.
Yeah.
I feel like.
James Bond is your daddy.
Yeah.
Bond daddies.
Okay.
Well, they'd be Bond babies at that point.
Yeah, Bond babies.
Kind of like Super Bowl babies.
Did you get a Bond baby out of your encounter with James? All right, so I gotta boo you on this one. You got this one wrong.
You can boo me.
Shame on you,
Bring
Joe.
on the booze.
What else did you get wrong? Is that it? Is that the only
That's
wrong
the one
answer?
I got wrong because I got 8 out of 9.
All right, so this is for all your right answers. Way to go! You got a good score.
The thing is, I was so close to an A, but if I had gotten my wrong answer right, I would have got 100.
Yeah, that one's pretty. I mean, it's pretty good. You did good. I really thought. I thought you were going to bomb this as well.
Hey, but I exceed expectations.
Yeah, you did. This is really good stuff. But real quick, if we could review.
Absolutely.
Issuing of public debt that is usually secured by the full faith and credit. That's what a bond is. And it's a future tax increase. That's what it's going to be. That's what this represents. They are gambling, and they're hoping that they have the money for this in the future, and that's just not certain. Nobody can plan. Nobody lives their life and plans their household by that, and yet the state of Arkansas is going to do it. In Arkansas, who can now issue bonds? The state of Arkansas can issue bonds. Counties can now issue bonds for economic development, and cities, because of that stupid indicted Senator John Woods law that he put on the ballot, and we all stupidly voted for. Well, I didn't vote for it, but ASA supported it. Can we talk about how ASA supported
wasn't that
John Woods' economic development bill, and now he's indicted for shady dealings?
Was that the jobs bill? Was that what this one was?
Yeah, it was the Jobs Amendment, and ASA made with the Economic Development Commission, had these election time ads going out saying, vote for issue 3, it's the Jobs Amendment, and I'm the Jobs Governor. And it was a joke. It's always been a joke, and all it has done is put us in more debt, or it will put us in more debt. And the fact that counties can now do what the state only used to, and now cities can. Don't you understand? I mean, come on. We know how city governments operate in Arkansas, and they always try to go to the left. You don't think they're not going to be able to resist themselves. We already have Fort Smith trying to do this. I think they're trying to lure a company. But the city of Springdale, in the news today and yesterday, this is what they're doing. They're going to put it on the ballot, and they're going to finance bonds so that they can build roads. It is going to be a complete mess one day, and you will have probably John Woods will be in a jail cell to thank for it. All right, question number, let's see what else, 3. Who is allowed to buy these economic development bonds? The correct answer, only those authorized and approved by governing bodies. Okay, so it's total cronyism. Back to question 5, down to question 5. What is the limit on these economic development bonds? Again, there's no limit. They can go into an unlimited amount of debt. And they will. They will just run this tab up. Let me roll the dice one more time. Question 6, who was the lead sponsor? Indicted Senator John Woods and Senator Hendren. Governor Hutchinson and the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce supported it verily. Number 7, do the sale of these bonds have to be a public sale or can they be a private sale? The correct answer is it can be either public or private because Amendment 62 of the Arkansas Constitution was repealed as part of indicted Senator John Woods' plan, which required a public sale after a public notice. They don't have to do that anymore, though. Question 8, which state was the only state in the 20th century to ever default on its debt because of issuance of too many bonds? That would be Arkansas. Looks like we're not going to learn from history. Question 9, who is ultimately responsible for paying back the debt or the bond? You are, we are, your kids are, the taxpayer is. It's a very good quiz. Those of you watching and you know the answers now or listening, go to conduitforaction.org, share this quiz with your coworkers so that they understand what these bonds really are. It's more debt, it's not conservative, and it will result in future tax increases because they're going to make a bad gamble at some point. Your local city, you ever think about the people that you know who are on your city council? You really trust these guys to have an unlimited credit card? We got to take a break. Back in a minute.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
This is State Representative Dan Sullivan with a Liberty Moment. Governments do not make ideals, but ideals make governments. This is both historically and logically true. Of course, the government can help to sustain ideals and create institutions through which they can better be observed, but the source of their very nature is in the people. The people have to bear their own responsibilities. There's no method by which that burden can be shifted to the government. It's not the enactment, but the observance of laws that created the character of a nation. President Calvin Coolidge.
Paid for by Sullivan for Arkansas. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
All right, folks, welcome back. I'm sorry, it's one of my favorites just because it's Burl Ives, and you got to respect, man. I don't know if he could dance. I don't know if was Burl Ives a triple threat. He was certainly a double threat. Man could act, and he could sing. I don't know about dancing. I mean, Burl Ives, not exactly light on his feet, but I could be wrong. Maybe the guy was an amazing dancer. Or he doesn't look like he'd be light on the feet. Can I say that? Is that wrong of me? Because he was fat. Burl Ives was fat. All right, so I see where Janet Crow on Twitter, she tweets this. So Jan Morgan brought some truth about our state government and Asa Hutchinson to Jonesboro last night. Spending on state agencies has increased from $16.4 billion to $20.6 billion. Asa is a big spender. Uh-oh. Yeah, he is. Asa is kind of a big spender. And that's why, we've been drawing attention to it best we can. And we even had an audio clip. Joe, I think that's over on you. Maybe we'll have to cue that up. Hey, big spender. All right, folks, we're up against a hard break. We're going to be back in just a moment. Going to go over some more Arkansas news. Follow me on Twitter at Paul Harrell 1776. Back in just a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Scary.
Yeah. So what potentially happens? I mean, let's say that a judge or let's say you guys are right on all counts. I mean, what potentially happens to the trooper here that acted illegally? I mean, subjected Drew, your client, to having his rights violated. What could happen here?
Well, Drew spent a lot of money on this case when he was charged with the crime of obstructing governmental operations by, based on an affidavit filed by Trooper Ziegenhorn. And so we would be able to recover the money that Drew spent on his attorney, the money that he spent bonding at a jail, maybe get money for the 5 hours he's in jail, maybe get some money for the appeals fees that it cost him to appeal this stuff. He would get attorney's fees in this lawsuit paid for. He'd get his costs paid for in this lawsuit. If he's successful, he would, depending on what we can prove, because that's one of the causes of action is we've tried to ask for this guy's emails. We've tried to ask for the results of Drew's, complaint, and they've blocked us at every turn. We've submitted the FOIA request, and we believe those were, I think, 6 of them so far have been denied, and there's a 7th one pending that they're, most likely going to deny, just to figure out, was this guy punished or not? And he wasn't, obviously. But that's another part of the lawsuit is that they violated his rights under the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act. So, yeah, he would be able to recover on that. Potentially, depending on what we can prove, you might be able to get what's called punitive damages. And if you can get punitive damages, then he might be able to get a little bit more money than normal.
Yeah.
But that's really about it. But our main goal, regardless of the amount of money that that's nice because it's hard for me. I'm filing this in Little Rock. It's 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
I get paid a lot of money to do other stuff. This civil rights stuff. So far I've won 2 cases and I haven't been paid a dime. So it's this civil rights stuff doesn't really pay a lot of money.
Real quick, Whit, what kind of other cases? What you've won 2 civil rights cases? What did they entail? What freedoms are we talking about?
Okay, well, one of my guys, he's not a very relatable person. Most of your listeners probably won't like him. I don't like what he did. Personally, don't really care for him that much, but that's not what rights are about. One of my guys, he yelled "F you" at a state trooper while driving away from him. And the state trooper pulled him over and arrested him for disorderly conduct. My guy wasn't arrested before that. He just saw this state trooper giving somebody a speeding ticket, and he didn't, for some reason, didn't like that. He's just some young punk. But, a judge ruled that was his First Amendment right to be able to express that, his dislike of the police.
Yeah.
However unfounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, I'm like the founding fathers. I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say.
Exactly.
And it was unfortunate in that case because he was arrested, thrown in jail for 8 hours in a jail cell filled with meth heads, and the toilet was overflowing with all sorts of stuff that I'm not sure I can talk about on the air. I don't know. I hope I didn't say the word that he said, and you guys were able to bleep that. Hopefully, I censored myself. I can't remember now. But you know, and then the other one I did before that was with another attorney when we.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. 870-275-9799. Kind of in the home stretch here, last long segment of the program, the live program. I want to thank our listeners on 97.1 Mountain Talk on KJMT for listening. You guys get to hear the first hour of the program coming up here at the top of the hour at 6. You'll hear what we did at 4. And we broke down the Jan Morgan event that took place in Craighead County last night. It was a huge event, massive numbers, record crowd, and her message was just fantastic, a truthful message. And you know why. They don't want her to speak, or the establishment doesn't want her to speak. Kudos to Craighead County for having her back and inviting her back and making sure. And I'll tell you, a lot of people in that Craighead County Republican Party are supporters of Jan Morgan, and I think they're going to support her more than just, with lip service. So we will see. Okay, this piece, a couple weeks ago, we had Mr. Dick Carpenter on from the Institute for Justice. He was a great interview because he was so knowledgeable and just really came across well. But the content of what we talked about was occupational licensing. They've written a paper about the oppressive regulations on, obstacles to employment here in Arkansas. The Institute for Justice and Dick Carpenter actually came down to the University of Central Arkansas, thanks to the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics for putting that on, where they talked about occupational licensing. And so I kind of like to follow where stories lead. He was on this program. Acre had him down there in Conway. And lo and behold, we now have somebody else, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette or Arkansas Online. There's an editorial in the paper entitled Bricks in the Wall, and it was published today. And so I kind of like to see where stories start on the state of Arkansas and then how we kind of follow up on new developments in this story. And the new development in this story is just simply the fact that more people are getting this information about how oppressive our regulatory system is, thanks to Arkansas Online publishing this editorial. Bricks in the Wall, How to Keep People Out of Work. Now think about that. Nobody would ever run a campaign saying we need to figure out how to keep people from working. Now, Democrats would love to be able to just say that, but I think then they would even, that's what their programs do. They give people just enough to squelch their creativity many of the time. Now, there are people who truly need services, and the bottom line is if the people who truly needed services were the only people getting them, we would have more than enough resources for them. That's, as much in debt as we are as a country, we're still so prosperous in many ways. And now with Donald Trump in the White House, ever since his election, the stock market's just gone up, 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 and up. And people's 401ks are doing very well, even from people who aren't Trump supporters. I bet they like some of the numbers they're seeing. Now, and if the economy were to tank tomorrow, they would blame it all on Trump, obviously. But they don't want to give him any credit for it where it is right now. One of the reasons the economy is doing good is just because, by the way, the optimism of Hillary Clinton not being in the White House. Hillary Clinton would have been the culmination of what Barack Obama started when he said, "You got a business, you didn't build that." A totalitarian freak that guy was. Bricks in the Wall, How to Keep People Out of Work. Depending on how you measure things, Arkansas law is either choking job opportunities with licensing requirements or really choking job opportunities with licensing requirements. Call it a license to kill opportunity. Oh, wow, that's great. We were just talking about James Bond, too. I didn't plan that. Sometimes you get lucky. A national outfit called the Institute for Justice has helped with the latter by putting together a report on state job licenses and their requirements for some. Turns out that Arkansas is giving states like California and Nevada a run for their money on suppressing job growth. The researchers cobbled together their findings when they could and found that Arkansas has the second most burdensome licensing laws and is the fifth most extensively licensed state. In Arkansas, you have to have a license for 52 of the 102 jobs that the Institute studied. Researchers said that has a lot to do with the requirements of construction or construction workers in this state, but there are other reasons. Arkansas licenses a number of occupations that few other states do, such as funeral attendants, psychiatric technicians, and residential drywall installers. Moreover, many occupations are subject to entry restrictions that exceed national averages. Opticians in Arkansas, for instance, must train for more than 3 years, about a year more than the national average. Fire alarm installers lose 1,095 days to education and experience requirements versus a national average of 486 days. And the details of the research are remarkable. So let us remark. In order to be a school bus driver in Arkansas, you need 4 days' experience. To be a licensed manicurist, you need 140. Are we really going to say, folks, that driving a bus and being responsible for young people's safety, getting to and from school, is not as big of a deal as doing somebody's nails? We really going to say that? The Cosmetology Board has become probably one of the most oppressive entities. It's like Asa Hutchinson's progressive liberal policies, the game and fish trying to use excuses to take away your rights, and then there's like the state Cosmetology Board, like number 3. No, seriously, they're ridiculous. It's hilarious. In order to be a school driver in this state, you need 4 days' experience. To be a licensed manicurist, you need 140 days. To be a child care worker, you need to show you have a couple of days under your belt. To be a barber, you need 350 days of experience. Okay, again, it's kind of the same thing. The Cosmetology Board, what's going on with them? To be a child care worker, you need to show you have a couple days under your belt. To be a barber, you need 350. That's crazy. It must be hard, I don't know. It must be a lot of training required in making sure your gel jar that you stick your combs in, you got to know how to pour that stuff just right. You need to pay a licensing fee, but you don't need on-the-job experience to be a pest control worker. That is, to put out poison and kill critters. But to be a door repair contractor, you need 1,825 days of education and experience. Again, this is editorial in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Matter of fact, that number of 1,825 days of experience comes up over and over again in this document, maybe because it's easily divisible by 365. Please see Arkansas's portion of the report at ij.org. They put the link in there, but it's instituteforjustice.org. ij.org. Excuse me, I'm getting a little bit of a cold. So you'd need 5 years, the piece goes on, you'd need 5 years education and or experience to be a painting contractor. or a floor sander contractor, or a contractor for any number of jobs, including door repair, insulation, drywall installation, cement finishing, pipe laying, on and on. Sure, some would argue, but doesn't all this protect the public? Answer, from what? What sense does it make that a painter must undergo 5 years of training but not a midwife? Does a barber really need that much more training than a school bus driver? If he messes up your hair, don't go back to him. Besides, hair grows back. It seems that a larger part of this is just a way for certain industries to keep the competition scarce and prices for their services high. A bigger question might be, why is Arkansas licensing makeup artists and massage therapists, bill collectors, and landscape workers? The government, it turns out, is deciding who gets to make a living and who gets to not.
The government's picking winners and losers.
Exactly. And Asa Hutchinson and the Republican Party establishment hasn't done a thing to upset the special interests and the protectionists of this state. And if they've done anything that's fallen through the cracks, the only person I can think of who's I wouldn't consider establishment is Richard Womack, who's tried his best to get rid of all these licensing boards, not get rid of the licensing boards, but get rid of the regulations just by making them challengeable in a courtroom. And no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. People freaked out when that passed. All it would have done was allow an average Joe to challenge a licensing board's regulation in a courtroom, and if the judge found in favor of the worker, then he gets to work. He gets to bypass it. And the licensing board can continue to enforce their phony rule. Now, they probably wouldn't. They'd probably, after a judge rules over and over again, they probably wouldn't. But you see my point. It was just to let somebody have a day in court saying, hey, judge, I really want to work. Hey, judge, I don't want to go to school for this because I've been doing it all my life and I know what I'm doing and I shouldn't have to pay, this much money and $1,500 or 1,500 hours or whatever it's going to cost. I shouldn't have to do that. I mean, I've been doing this all my life. And of course, everybody, every special interest, everyone freaked out. Everybody did. Even the Arkansas Bar Association. And you think people who challenge things in court would need attorneys? No. Arkansas Bar Association. No, we don't need this bill. Folks, it's oppressive. The situation right now is dire, it's grim, and the Republican Party of Arkansas establishment has gone out on a limb to try to make these things disappear. They're actually trying to just keep things the way the Democrats had them. What sense does it make that a painter must undergo 5 years of training but not a midwife? Does a barber really need that much more training than a school bus driver? Oh, by the way, I'm not advocating midwives go under training. I mean, that's just, I'm tired of the claws. I'm tired of the tentacles. Tired of it. It seems that a larger part of this is just a way for certain industries to keep the competition scarce. A bigger question is, why is Arkansas licensing makeup artists, massage therapists, bill collectors, landscape workers? The government, it turns out, is deciding who gets to make a living and who doesn't. The piece goes on. We're not libertarians. Some licenses make sense. Yes. Let's continue to make sure preschool teachers, school bus drivers, and pharmacy technicians have certain skills and experience. But why does the state require a manicurist to pay a fee, get dozens of hours on the job, take 2 exams, and be a certain age before granting her permission to work? In the main, all this red tape hurts those trying to earn a living with their hands, and those livings are sometimes low income. Stop. We're also a welfare state. We are a welfare state. We are a welfare state. We are a welfare state. Governor Hutchinson could have let us out. could have tried to stop this, but instead, this would be a good way to do it. Let people be able to make a living without having to do all these hoops and have to jump through them all. But see, it drives it. This drives it. Any chance somebody has to get out of generational poverty, it's going to be really hard because you're going to say, I got to have a license to work. I got to have money already to go work.
Well, okay, so we have someone on the phone. We have Glenn Britland on the phone. He wants to talk about. He wants to add on to something add on to what we're talking about.
Yeah, all right. Bring him on. Glenn, you're on the Paul Harrell program. What's up, sir? What do you want to say?
Hey, Paul, it's good to talk to you again. Hey, I'm a licensed electrical contractor, and discovered this year when I had to renew my license that I couldn't get the 8 hours of continuing education that I needed because of the fact that the legislature did not approve the current National Electric Code. And as it turns out, the 8-hour continuing education has been put off until 2019, which, as a coincidence, is when the legislature meets again and can approve the current National Electric Code.
Well, so you're telling me you can't get your continuing education. Is that going to affect you being able to make a living?
No, because I was able to renew my license, and because the board that governs the electricians in the state put in a waiver that I don't have to have the continuing education until 2019.
How kind of them! How kind of them to give you a reprieve, and every other electrical contractor.
Yes, and everyone that had to renew is got a reprieve. But and that's kind of interesting because usually it's a done deal that when the National Electric Code comes out with their new version, the legislature approves it. And we
okay. So why do you think they didn't approve it? That's weird. Why didn't they approve it?
Well, I'm not really sure. I haven't been able to get any answers. I have asked a couple people, including my representative. Unfortunately, David Branscombe, my representative, is now resigned, so I doubt that I'll get an answer.
Yeah. Hey,
but,
Glenn, have you made any decision yet about special election, that sort of thing? I mean, you're still running for state rep, right?
Yes, sir. I am still running for state rep, but no, I haven't made a decision on that. I probably won't make an announcement on that until sometime next week.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting stuff. I had no idea about the electrical code, and them not recognizing it. I'm going to have to do a little research on that.
Yes, it's kind of interesting.
All right, Glenn, I appreciate it, sir. Be safe, okay?
Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you.
All right. So this piece on occupational licensing, it ends by saying we're not libertarians. Some licenses make sense. Let's continue to make preschool teachers, school bus drivers, and pharmacy technicians have certain skills and experience. But why does the state require a manicurist to pay a fee, get dozens of hours on the job training, take 2 exams, and be a certain age before granting her permission to work? In the main, all of this red tape hurts those trying to earn a living with their hands, and those livings are sometimes low income. Many of these licenses might only be burdensome, and purposely burdensome at that. Call them bricks in the wall, except the bricklayer might need $300 for the licensing fee and 5 years experience first. They have built a wall. The Democrats did. The Republicans have not taken it down. They built a wall to keep people from their opportunities of potential success in working in the skilled labor market. And listen, folks, the Republicans need to take it down. They need to reduce barriers instead of finding out, carefully crafted language of excuses as to why we just can't do it yet. Back in a minute.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media. Good morning. Good morning. Congratulations, you have made it to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, where we strive to offer politicians the very best in ambiguously specific language, the purpose of which is to allow our politician bosses to grow government and keep their constituents in the dark. This yields two beneficial outcomes. First, the government-growing politicians stay in office. And second, we at the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language get to remain in the shadows and get to keep our jobs. Now, it's time for technocrat training drills. Johnny?
Yes?
A politician wants to use the healthcare system to punish those who have and redistribute their wealth. What is the appropriate language to use in this situation to make an unpopular idea acceptable to the public?
I would emphasize that these ideas would make their healthcare more affordable and make sure the public understands if they already have adequate healthcare, nothing will change for them.
Very good, Johnny. Much progress since last time. Next up, let's have Susie. Susie, your politician has been caught in, dare I say it, a lie.
What kind of a lie?
It doesn't really matter, but in the spirit of the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, I will give you a good hypothetical scenario. Dozens of politicians have been thrown out of office for supporting a socialist healthcare program. So the remaining politicians get together and they pass a bill to, quote, end the program, end quote. But they really want to keep it. What should they do, Susie?
May I ask a question for more information?
Certainly.
Has the word lie been used by the political opposition?
Yes.
I know. They should change the name of the program. Maybe use the word works to make the sheeple think it's for working folk. Then they should go on the attack and get the public distracted. I would advise the politician to publicly question why our political dialogue has become so uncivilized and tell them to claim using the word lie, no matter how accurate, is a personal attack on his or her character. And if they admit to any wrongdoing at all, they must replace the word lie with words like misspoke, misstatement, misrepresent, or mislead.
Amazing! Excellent work, Susie. I feel like the student has really become the teacher. You will make a terrific addition to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language.
All hands on deck. This is a Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language emergency. Several politicians are scrambling after being exposed by some talk radio host. Let's move it, people. They need our help.
The Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language. You vote 'em in, and we keep 'em in. PHP Parody.
Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to talk radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755, or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks so much for being with us. That's about all the time we have for today. I appreciate the program. I appreciate what you did, Joe, holding things down over there. Thank you to our guest. Thank you to Donnie Copeland. Thank you to Rick Bernard. Thank you to Glenn Brittlin, who just called in. It's been an exciting show, and we will be back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Now, I want to remind you that if you want to help support this program and you want to get extra content and more of this program, more of the PHP, you can go to patreon.com/thephp. That's Patreon, patreon.com/thephp. If you can't remember that, just go to paulharrell.com and click on Get Extra Content, and it'll take you to the Patreon page where we're asking you, if you believe this program has value, to partner with us for as little as $5 a month to get an extra Paul Harrell program video every week. We just put our Wednesday Weekly out this week for I'm on social justice warriors and Christmas charity. Had a good conversation about that, thanks to Joe. So go to paulharrell.com, click on Extra Content for as little as $5 a month, and the features go up from there to 10 or 25, but for $5 a month, you can get our extra Wednesday Weekly video every week. Arkansas, be safe.